In this short demo, we're going to demonstrate the OpenPHACTS Application Programmer's Interface, or API. Keep in mind that an API is actually a developer's tool for building an application and not an application itself. What we're looking at here is the documentation for that API. The documentation includes a few dozen particular calls talking about compounds and pharmacology and targets and other things that OpenPHACTS knows about. So we're going to start by scrolling down to one that's called Map Free Text to a Concept URL. Now, one of the interesting things about this documentation is that the OpenPHACTS API is given as web services, and that means that it's possible to call these services right from your web browser. And this documentation is dynamic in that the documentation is also a means for calling the services themselves. So for any particular service, we see documentation about that service, so the parameters that are needed to call it. Some more documentation about the return structure, which we won't talk about in this demo. In order to call it, you'll need an application ID and an application key. These are available from the OpenPHACTS website for no charge. Just register and you can get your keys. And then there's a required parameter for this particular call. This one takes text and turns it into an OpenPHACTS ID. So we're going to give some text here. We're going to talk about sorafenib. This is a cancer drug that we use as an example in a lot of our OpenPHACTS things. There's some other parameters that you can choose here. They're all optional, so we don't have to do them. I am going to do this one. Format I'm going to choose to be turtle. After all, this is a semantic web blog. And then we send a request, and what we get back from the OpenPHACTS web service is some results. And this is given in Turtle, so you could read this into any Turtle processor that we like. We're not going to go into much detail on it, but we'll see there's a thing called a result, and there's a handful of results here. So we're just going to pick the first one right here. It's a URI. We're going to take this result, and we're going to copy it. And then we're going to paste that URI we just copied into another one of the services. And in this case, we're going to scroll down here to the compound pharmacology paginated, and we're going to paste this as one of the parameters for this other call. So there's a required parameter, URI. We're going to paste it there. We also need our application ID and our application key. And there's quite a few more things we could say about pharmacology. But again, the only one that I'm actually going to do is the format, make it be turtle. And we'll send this request. So now what we're doing is we're taking the identifier for sorafenib that we found in our first call, and there were a handful of them. We just picked one up, so different matches for sorafenib. We're passing that off to a pharmacology call, and this is going to tell us a lot of things about the pharmacology of that particular match. And in fact, there's a couple of targets that this has. So we're going to take, again, the first one. We'll take the first target. We're going to copy that, and we're going to paste that into another call. And so this is how it works. The results of one call be pasted into another. So we're going to ask for target information. It works the same way. The documentation tells us all of the parameters for this call. One of them is required. That's a URI. Others are optional. So here's the app ID and key. And again, we're going to ask for our results to come back in Turtle. We'll send the request, and it comes back. And here we see information about the target. There's quite a lot of stuff here. If you scroll down, you'll have some keywords, some descriptions, the serine, threonine, protein kinase PIM-2. You'll see some annotations, proto-oncogene with serine threonine kinase activity involved in cell survival, etc. And you'll even find, if you go through here enough, you'll find some gene sequences, all sorts of information about this target. So this is just a short demo of the API itself, the calls, the documentation of the calls, and how you can chain them together by making a call to one, taking the results of that, and pasting it into a call to another. We'll show in a later demonstration is how we can actually automate this and build an application from these pieces. If you'd like to follow along yourself, go to dev.openphacts.org. Fill out the form to sign in to get yourself an app key, and you can try this yourself.